In 2018, 4 elite pilots were hired by the Voxel Mining Company to retrieve valuable minerals from an asteroid in the Zeta Ophiuchi system, a relatively close asteroid field around 34 light-years away. But while charting a new path through the uncharted asteroid field, something went wrong. The pilots vanished without a trace. Their ships were found abandoned and empty, but no distress signal had been sent, and there was no sign of violence. What happened to the crew of the Signal? It was April 2018 when the 4 elite pilots, James Drake, Thomas Davidson, Mark Mitchell, and Joseph Scott Morgan, all veteran space miners with extensive experience charting new asteroid fields, sent back a routine report from their base camp orbiting the Zeta Ophiuchi asteroid. A few hours later, after they presumably continued on with their routine asteroid mining run, their signal went dead. There was nothing unusual about the request. The men were experienced miners who regularly scouted for volatile compounds like methane, ammonia, and water ice, materials which can be refined into rocket fuel and are extremely valuable in the right hands. It was then until the next day when a rescue party arrived at the asteroid to find the 4 pilots floating silently in their ships. All 4 were in perfect flying order, but there was no sign of the crew anywhere. An investigation team soon arrived at the scene and found nothing unusual. The ship showed no signs of damage, nor was there any evidence that the pilots had been in any danger. In fact, when the security cameras inside the ships were reviewed, it became clear that the pilots hadn't even tried to escape. They had literally just disappeared into thin air. The first ship they boarded was the Banshee, a nimble little exploration vessel used for scouting new asteroid fields. This was where they'd presumably been living while working on the project. And here the security footage only had mundane details to offer. They found the 4 men preparing freeze-dried meals, exercising on rowing machines, and relaxing in the common area. One of the men was even seen walking his pet slime pet, a common enough sight on mining vessels. There was nothing unusual here, but as the footage panned out to the viewport, a strange detail emerged. Through the viewport, one could see the other 3 ships in the fleet docked neatly in a row. But when the camera panned to the other ships, it was clear that something was very wrong. The interiors of the other 3 ships were dark and lifeless. Nobody was in sight. Then the security footage from the bridge of the Banshee came back. When the pilots left the asteroid for their mining run, the 4 ships were seen flying in tight formation toward their destination. At first, this was normal. The pilots were all experienced and competent, and often flew together for efficiency. But then the footage from the other ships showed them all docking at the same time, in the same position, perfectly still. Once again, there was nobody in sight. No distress call had been sent. There was no sign of a struggle and nobody was hurt. The pilots had just left their ships and never returned. Did they abandon their posts due to some unknown threat? Did they flee in terror to some undiscovered part of the ship? Did something terrible happen to them off camera? Was this a mutiny? Had the pilots seized control of the other ships and left their captain behind? Or perhaps something much more sinister? Did an alien species abduct the crew, taking them away for nefarious reasons? What do you think happened to the crew of the Signal? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. If you want to help keep this channel going, consider becoming a subscriber, where you can watch each video as it goes live. You can also check out the mobile game. See you next time. Thanks again for watching.